Nepal's Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli and Chinese President Xi Jinping have met in Beijing and signed a 9-point Memorandum of Understanding to enhance bilateral cooperation across various sectors. The signing took place on Tuesday during KP Sharma Oli's ongoing 4-day visit to China. The agreement covers 8 key areas of cooperation. Kathmandu has also expressed interest in a no-loan pact concerning the projects under China's BRI, signaling mutual understanding between the two countries. But there's no substantive BRI reference in the agreement. It is a fact that brings to the fore Nepal's internal political struggle when it comes to BRI. Oli has been facing the prospect of a major political crisis given the fact that his largest coalition partner, that is Nepali Congress, is very vocal against taking any Chinese loans. In fact, Nepali Congress is very clear that only grants will be taken, no loans will be taken from China. And the reason for that is how some of the other Chinese projects have turned out, and of course, what has happened in Sri Lanka 2 years back. The Nepali delegation is set to return on the 5th of December and remains to be seen that what will be next in terms of Nepal-China relationship and the impact this could have on India as well. All right, Ajaya Bhadra Khanal joins me to really talk more about what this means. He's a senior journalist, a research director for Center for Social Innovation and Foreign Policy. Ajay, I appreciate you joining us live from Kathmandu. The fact is that there's a lot of back and forth between Nepal and China. There have been prime ministers in the last couple of years, one sanctioning the project, other, of course, cancelling it. In this back and forth, how do you see the relationship between Nepal and China from here on?
I think the relationship has been very tricky. Nepal signed, as you know, the BRI agreement in 2017, and since then there has been no progress on BRI. So during this visit, I think the BRI was at the center of the focus of this visit, and at the last moment, Nepal and China managed to sign an agreement to move forward the BRI agreement. It is now termed a framework, which allows Nepal and China to move forward on the BRI. So that's a progress in a sense that at least there has been some progress on agreement. And the first version of the BRI implementation plan was sent by the Chinese in October 2021. So that's almost 3 years ago. And the draft at that time was agreed upon by the Communist parties, governments. The Nepali Congress more or less had been ignoring that implementation plan since 2021, but now the current BRI draft, as we understand, is supposed to be a Nepali version, which is completely different from what the Chinese have proposed. So in that
the harmonious clause is not there. That's what Nepali side have been saying all along, that they don't want only Chinese contractors. They don't want some of those very stiff penalties that are imposed by China around the world. They've seen how it's brought Sri Lanka at the brink. But I want to understand from you that how does this change the relationship? Because if Nepal says no to BRI in its present form, it's no good for China. Because, you know, a watered-down version doesn't really serve China's interest, or does it?
If you look at the BRI agreement itself, which has not been made public, I think your argument would be true. But there are other ways in which China is pursuing its interests in Nepal. So if we look at the joint statement produced by Nepal and China, it includes many of the ideas that were initially in the BRI implementation plan. So I think what has happened now is the watered down version of the BRI implementation plan, or the framework agreement, basically focuses on 5 areas, and the Nepali Congress has made sure that it will not be taking any commercial loans, and it does not want to take even concessional loans. So that was their sticking point between Nepali Congress and China, and they have now used the term aid agreement, aid financing. So that term...
See, the only agreement that stands out for me, apart from some of the others, The only one that stands out for me that I would probably pay more close attention to is the pursuance of Chinese language in Nepal. That, of course, could be the precursor to more Confucian institutes being set up in Nepal. And this is the playbook that took place in Pakistan a decade ago. I want to understand from you, do you see that happening here, or do you think the political opposition to that could be very severe from Nepali Congress and some of the other coalition partners of KP Sharma Oli?
Yes, that's the very tricky part, like if we look at the BRI implementation plan that was forwarded by the Chinese in 2021, it was a very strategic kind of document that, incorporated almost every facet of the relationship, whether it was soft power diplomacy, expanding Chinese influence, security cooperation, and a whole gamut of, agreements regarding, for example, financing arrangements, exchange, trading in bilateral currencies and stuff like that. It covered the whole gamut that reflected China's strategy in Nepal to enhance its influence as well as to, further its strategic interests. But now what has happened is the BRI document sort of waters down China's ambitions in Nepal. But at the same time, there are other ways through which China appears to be pursuing. So if we look at what happened on Tuesday was there were, on the one hand, today there was an agreement on BRI, but yesterday they issued a joint communique which more or less reflects the other things that were covered in 21 proposal by the Chinese, but which were not covered today.
Ajay, we'll have more discussions on this going forward because, if Nepal does decide to embrace China and China's BRI, we're going to have a lot more of this conversation going forward, and remains to be seen how does it end up for KP Sharma Oli and Nepal from here on. But I appreciate you taking out the time.